ladies and gentlemen, we are back, right, for another round of Way of the Warrior. My name is Trevor Martin, and I'm the founder of RMF Coaching, stands for Refine, Move, and Forge. And as you know from previous editions, what I like to do is I like to search out warriors, real life warriors out on social media, different platforms, and ask them if they want to be part of Way of the Warrior. Now, the idea behind this has been to have those conversations around putting goodness, promoting positivity back out, into the dark world that we live in. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't times of light, but we do know that it can get pretty heavy. So I like to focus on those people that carry that light, that have that warrior mentality, that want to bring that positivity to others. And I just so happened to land another one. His name is Keith O'Neill, and I got to share, Keith. I got to share with the audience. Listen, this has been. We were joking before we hit record. This has been in the works for a while. We missed some dates, but and Keith, I really thank you for working with me on that. But the conversations that have happened, in the background leading up into this are intense. And folks, I got to tell you, this dude is my brother, like hands down. The messaging, right? The platform, just how he comes across on the platform and his drive and his passion. I cannot wait to dive into his story. So with that said, I'd like to introduce Keith O'Neill. Keith, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? And then we'll dive into some past.
I mean, after that introduction, I don't know if anything I'm going to say is going to be worth it. But I'm going to echo that, and I want to thank you for giving me the platform here because honestly, this is great stuff, and I couldn't agree more with your outlook on as far as what yours and my relationship is. The messaging is connected. What we've got going on is connected, and I couldn't be more excited. So,
Right on.
who am I? It's a loaded question, right? Like so. Right. You say all the normal stuff, right? Oh, I'm a father of 5, which is true. And, I have a full-time job beyond this. But really, you talk about my past and why I got into this. And it's really just because I care. I care about paying experiences forward. I care about someone's development from point A to point B that leads them to Z. Far too often you look at people and they start at A and they think that Z is right around the corner, and it's not, because there is no final destination. So why did I get into this? I got into it to show people that it's okay to go from point A to point B and stop looking at it like you failed because you didn't hit Z. There is no Z.
Right on. Dude.
Right?
Preach. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when I look around, I kind of go, I think there's something missing in the coaching aspect, in the messaging, that we're constantly talking about drive, and we're constantly talking about hustle, and we're constantly talking about, there is no sleep. Rich people don't sleep. Bullshit. They sleep and we sleep. So stop telling people they aren't enough, because it's just going to take them back a level and say, well, then why bother? So, and that's where kind of my story begins, because it begins with the story that you tell yourself at a young age that I didn't start to uncover until I went to therapy about 7 years ago. When I was growing up, if you went to therapy, you were crazy, right?
Yep.
There was no, you're in a straitjacket. There's something inherently wrong with you, right. So, and my story isn't necessarily one of physical struggle. It isn't one of, I came from a bad background. I have amazing parents. I have amazing brothers, cousins, family. I have an amazing life that has been afforded to me through the grace of God or the universe or whatever it is that you want to believe in. Where it comes from is here. Where it came from is that you begin the self-talk that you're not enough. And you don't know where it comes from. It's just something that's emboldened in your brain. And I can tell you where it came from, and you're going to laugh. Now, if you remember, there was a show back in the 70s when I was growing up. Yes, I'm dating myself. But there was a show called 8 is Enough, right? And for some reason, the youngest son on that show, I just wanted to look like. I just wanted to be like that dude. He had this weird straight hair, and I could never get my hair straight enough, and my teeth weren't straight enough. Now I'm like 7, 8. And I look back on my school pictures and I'm like, I remember getting them going, oh, I'm going to look just like this kid. And then I look like me and I'm like, well, that sucks. That's not what I want to look like. I look terrible. And it started as I went through therapy, it started like there. this negative self-talk of always wanting to be somebody and something else.
Great.
Meanwhile,
Yeah.
and here's the kicker, everybody around me was supportive. I had a wonderful support system. So, how much of an internal hell does it have to be to have all of these wonderful things that you're grateful for, and you're this and you're this, but you can't get out of your own head and you're living there all the time?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter when
I think
somebody says to you, right,
yeah,
what
absolutely.
you
I
want
think
to hear.
yeah, to your point, you can have so many people around you lifting you up and saying like it's like when you speak to your significant other, right? It's like, "Hey, how's this dress look? Like, hey, how do I look? You look marvelous. Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. You're elegant." Eh, right?
Yeah,
If they don't see if you don't see it, if your mind's eye cannot grasp the concept that you're all right, that you're amazing, no matter it doesn't matter if anybody nobody else saying that is going to make you believe it. Fair. Fair
without
point.
question. And again, it's, sometimes it's like what takes somebody from this, from the ghetto, what takes somebody from the slums and brings them to the heights that they are, while another person in the same scenario goes and does the other thing, goes the opposite way. It's all
Right on.
mindset. it's
Yeah.
it's everything in my mind. And I spent the majority of my young years, my teenage years, and my 20s living someone else's life,
Hmm.
wishing that I was somebody and something else, almost being a chameleon. Oh, you want me to drink? If that's going to make me fit in, I'm going to drink. Oh, you want me to do this? If that's what's going to make me fit in, if that's what's going to turn me into you because I think you're cool, then that's what I'm going to do. And after a while, there was no Keith O'Neill. There was just Keith who didn't have an identity. He was a nice guy, did a lot of stuff for his friends, um, took care of his family, but there was no Keith O'Neill. It became a race to make my habits, to make my likes who I am. So I wasn't the guy that, in my own mind, I was the guy that wanted to be the biggest Van Halen fan, the biggest Rocky fan, the biggest this, because that's what I was known for.
Right.
Instead of being me that just so happens to like those things. And it's this perpetual hell that kept me drinking, that kept me wanting to suppress all of the hateful things that I had. Because again, look around me, right? I got amazing support system that I don't appreciate. Piles on top of the hate. How can you be so selfish that you don't appreciate what you have when somebody else has this? Hate. How can you think this way or be this way? Hate. Oh, you're still this way because you don't make the decisions to go do this. Hate. And all of a sudden, you're stacking hate on top of hate. And sooner or later, you're just looking up at a bunch of hateful things that you say yourself that you just believe. And it's this constant darkness of hate that I lived with for a lot of years, up until my late 40s. And nobody knew it. Nobody realized the depths of my struggle with substance abuse, to hide and mask the pain.
Right.
I was functioning, right? Um, Thank God my children didn't suffer. Thank God that they didn't look at me and say, "Well, Dad's dragging himself out of bed again," or nobody had a clue until I admitted it to myself that I have a major issue. I have to change some things
Right on.
because I can't keep living like this. And if I'm going to be raw and real, it came before therapy. And I remember, it wasn't just alcohol; it was pain pills. And to say it sometimes is embarrassing, but it needs to be said, um, because it was just an everyday thing. And I remember thinking to myself and justifying it, like I'll just take this to just to kind of level me off a little bit, or just to do this and just to take the pressure off because I deserve it. I work
Yeah.
hard, and right, and I got this, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and it's everybody else's fault but me. Everything going on is everybody else's fault. It's not my fault. How can it be my fault? I'm working
Right.
hard. I do this and I do this. I deserve to feel good, right?
Right.
And I'll never forget that I had in my closet, I had a little dresser, and inside of that dresser, all the way in the back, were things that I kept there so nobody would find it, right? Real healthy outlook, right? If it's so right for you, why hide it all the way in the back of a closet? But in my mind, that didn't matter. And I remember on a Saturday, it was a Saturday afternoon in January of 2018, and went into my closet, and I'm scrumming around for it. And I didn't hear my youngest son calling for me just to make him something to eat. He finds me and he comes in the closet. And as I hear the door opening behind me, so the door's here, as I hear the door opening behind me, my head whips around and I say, "Get the fuck out of here." Now, my son was 8. I never yell. I never yell at my kids like that, ever. He walks away. And I remember sitting in front of my dresser with a bag, and I started to cry. I started to cry, and my hands were shaking. And I thought to myself, this is not who I want to be. This is not the father or the husband or the brother or son that I want to be. And I took those pills and I flushed them down the toilet. And I went down and I hugged my son. And I will never forget, he just said, "I'm sorry I made you angry."
Dude.
All because he wanted something to eat. But I was too busy trying to get high. Let's call it for what it is, right?
Okay.
We can say, well, I was trying to feel good. No, I was trying to get high, to feel good, to mask pain. So that thought resonated with me, and I stopped the pills. The alcohol came a month later. My wife and I were going to Nashville, and on numerous occasions, she had asked me, "Please, please, just watch yourself. Like, don't get too drunk, right?" And of
Right.
course, my response is, "How dare you tell me what to do?
Ah,
This is my life, right? I can do whatever I want. I work hard." And again, the
I've earned
excuse,
it.
yo, earned it.
Yeah.
What the fuck did I earn? Right?
Right.
Nothing. So I said, before I said what I normally said, I sat in it for just a second, thinking about me sitting in front of or kneeling in front of a dresser crying. And I went, I'm going to I'm just going to take stock in what I do this weekend in Nashville. I'm going to think. And I went out and had a good time. And at one point in the night, I decided I'm going to stop drinking. Okay, you know what? I'm good. I don't want to get out of control at that moment. And it's very hard to explain to somebody who has not experienced substance abuse
Right on.
or self-loathing or of that nature. There's something in your brain that, in my brain at that moment, kicked into overdrive at 1 o'clock in the morning that said, "You're not drunk enough. Time to go. Time to go. Let's go." And I got scared because I'm listening to myself tell myself that I'm not done yet, when I knew that my body was done, that I was done. And I couldn't grasp onto that. We came home 2 weeks. I didn't have a drink for 2 weeks. I came home. We had dinner with friends. We went to a place that did not serve alcohol, but they bought a bottle of wine, and they made it into a sangria at the table. And they said, "Keith, would you you want some?" And I said, "You know what? Just give me like a little bit, right? Just a little bit. I haven't had a drink in 2 weeks. This was February 24th, 2018. It's the last day I ever had any alcohol touch my body."
Side note, you post that on LinkedIn, like you've got your how many days sober, like you've got
Right now, I'm 2158. Yep,
like brother, like I
2,158 days sober.
so I wanted to like I
Yeah,
know for the audience sake, I know how important this story is to you, and I know how important it is for people to hear it because I look at that number, I look at that number every day when I'm seeing your post. So anyway, go ahead. Sorry,
yeah. And I count days. I don't count years. I count days, because every day is a victory in everything I do. Everything,
bro.
everything.
Preach that shit. Okay. All right.
Um, no, it's all good. So I remember they poured, I mean, just literally, not even, I don't even think it was an ounce. And I sipped it. I didn't finish. I sipped it. And it was like the lights turned on in New York City. Zoom! Everything just started to go haywire in my brain. Like I could have taken the bottle and drank the hell out of it right at the table. Like I was dying of thirst. Like I hadn't had water in 2 days. And I said, okay, that's it. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. And it's not because of anybody or anything other than me. It's time for me to start to get right. So I was 46 at the time. And I remember posting after 6 months of sobriety, hey, you know what? For what it's worth, I'm 6 months sober. 6 months sober is interesting because 6 months sober allows people to make fun of you. Get a load of this guy, right? Because they don't know the depths. I hit it very well.
Right.
They don't know the depths that your brain goes to actually get to 6 months. Hell, to get to a week to 2 weeks. And in between that time, I am kicking my own ass for the time that I wasted, for the relationships that I ruined, for the absolute, just little bits and pieces of me being an asshole that nobody else knew, but I knew. I knew I was doing it and justifying it because it's your fault. It's not mine. It's your fault.
Right on.
6 months sober, you open yourself up to a lot of jokes. Look at this guy trying to be better than everybody else. Look at this big deal. I'm not kidding. I screenshotted them off of my Facebook post. Friends that I've known for 20 years, people I've known for years and years and years. We'll get him to drink the next time he's out. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
But I wasn't angry. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't angry reading them. I laughed because people like to be joined in their misery with anybody who will come along. And I was on a separate path and I actually felt bad. It's like I found some enlightenment and I found something that suits me, but yet everybody else wants to pull me back into what they're doing.
Misery
And then
loves
after,
company.
right? And I think it goes with saying, with anything that you ever start, there's something to be said for when somebody tells you you're crazy when you're starting something. And then after you're successful, they go, well, how did you do it? Well, how did I go from being fucking nuts to now being somebody you admire?
Right.
How does that happen?
Oh yeah. The haters and the critics, baby. When you start, they're listening to me. You're pathetic. There's no way you stutter all the time. There's no way you piss your pants on stage. You will be nothing. And then when you start to become something, they're like, wait a minute. Number one, can I have a piece of that pie? Number two, can I have the secret?
Yeah.
Success. Can you tell me? Can you just bring me along for the ride? Show me the ropes, brother.
How'd you do it?
Absolutely. Okay,
How'd you do it?
so tell me, bro, like there's so many things to unpack, and I know, like, oh my gosh, I could talk to you for like hours, and we will. But that whole hate thing, like our story is our like is so similar. I've got anger issues, in here. The
Mhm.
close circle knows that, things that I'm working on, right? So there's so many similarities there. What got you to the point to present right now? So you've worked through things.
Yep.
At some point in time through your self-awareness journey, you realize, okay, you know what? I need to help other people. So you start coaching. Walk us through like what got you to that point and what are you offering right now? Like what are you doing to help other people?
Okay. How did it get there? It goes along with that self-hate, right? It goes along with that self-loathing, that talk that you're not good enough.
Right.
Um, I was and always I was an absolute wonderful communicator for a very long time. I managed a lot of people, but I didn't manage them. I partnered with them. I trained them. There was nothing about sales that I enjoyed, but I enjoyed, like I told you, taking somebody from point A to point B who didn't know, and
Yeah.
not for the recognition, for the feeling that I got after the fact. My greatest days of being a district manager was not selling something to a customer. It was taking my manager and making them a better person from the time that I walked in to the time I left. Period. Stop. Now I had this ability, and I still have this ability to interweave things through analogies that make people understand why it's important
Okay.
to have them buy in. And that's why when I was a DM, I had some of the longest tenured managers for a retail company, because they weren't working for the company, they were working for me. And they were working for me because I was giving them more than just a paycheck. I was giving them a way to live their life.
Right on.
So as I moved through my career and I left that position, I became just a straight salesman. But there's always something missing. There's and I couldn't figure out what it was that I was missing until I had a conversation at one of my lowest points, when I felt like I was, because even after drinking, you think, okay, quit drinking. All right, cool. All your problems are solved. They're not. Didn't get to the root of my issues on why I, on why I feel the way I do about myself. And really what it came down to at my lowest point is I didn't have a purpose. Outside of my children, my family, I didn't have a purpose. I wasn't living for me. I was still wishing to be somebody else.
Preach. Yeah.
I was still wishing to have that family life. What's wrong? I got beautiful kids. They're healthy. Wife, gorgeous, fantastic, awesome. Why can't we be them? What do you mean, why can't we be them? Why can't we have their money? I was still living and wishing as somebody through somebody else. I didn't have a purpose. None. And I couldn't figure it out. When I was told, well, Keith, you need to have a purpose. So what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
What does a purpose mean? And I got frustrated. So what did I do? I start to research literally what the word purpose is and how to find a purpose. I'm Googling how to find a purpose. Months spent searching for a purpose. And I finally found it in the most unlikely places, on an Instagram story where somebody was posting their stories on medium.com. And I used to be a writer, and I quit being a writer because I was too afraid of what people would say about me.
I hope you go back to that, by the way. If you haven't already, I hope you go back to it.
I have. Well, I did. This is 2019.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm lying. No, this is 2021.
Okay.
I thought I could do that. Maybe that'll be therapeutic. And I started a blog on Medium, and I just started to write. And I just started to write whatever came in my head. And then all of a sudden, it started to come into the form of self-help. But I was really in every article, I was talking to myself. Everything I published, and I publish it and I put it on Facebook. And then all of a sudden, people start to ask me questions. Hey, why do you look at it that way? Or, hey, this was so awesome. I was struggling with this, and the way that you encapsulated it worked out well. And I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't think anything of it. I'm just talking to me and publishing it and finding my passion and my purpose again. And then I joined a couple of support groups. And inside of those support groups, that people were asking me for my phone number to talk to me after the group was done for advice. So I would give them 2, 3, 4 hours of my time, and we would just talk. And they go, Keith, I don't know what I would do without you. I paid X amount for this group. And this is no joke, hand to God. And I remember saying, I just gave this guy 3 hours of my time, and I didn't get a dime. Man, I feel good. I mean, hey, listen, it's very nice. Thank you. I take compliments like manhole covers being thrown at me.
Right.
Right. But I thought, all right, maybe there's something to this. Maybe this is my purpose. Maybe this is my way of giving back.
My man.
I was noticed by a guy in one of my men's support groups that was like, I think you'd be an amazing coach. I said, I don't think I'm good. I'm just going to keep writing. And I think I'm going to be good. He's like, no, your personality, the way that you present yourself, the things that you bring to the table are amazing. And I'm like, okay, we'll see. And then I joined another group, and the same thing happened. I had people asking me for my number, texting me advice. What advice can you give me here? And I'm blasting them with stuff. And I thought, okay, I got to start. Even if I don't make a dime, I'm going to start. I'm going to reach a larger audience, and I'm going to figure out how to parlay this into something that feeds my soul. Forget about money for a second. This feeds my soul.
Yeah, man.
Helping somebody feeds my soul. And it sounds hokey, because if somebody were to say to me, I go, yeah, sure, it feeds your soul. No. It is the motor, right? The gas, the nitrous is the paycheck, the paycheck that they give you to forget your dreams. Well, this is my dream. My dream is to help somebody forget that they are remarkably flawed and realize their full potential while still remaining
Bro.
remarkably flawed because we're all fucking flawed, right? So at the end of the day, I said, okay, you know what? Let's start. Well, we're going to start on LinkedIn. Uh, really? I'm going to start on LinkedIn? Like I can't do Instagram? I can't. No, LinkedIn's the way. All right.
And it, oh my
LinkedIn.
God, it so is. For all of you entrepreneurs out there, like seriously, LinkedIn is the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, it really, again, yes. And again, at first, because I'm thinking TikToks, I'm thinking I'm going to get clients and I'm going to get this. And you're thinking like it was me jumping from point A to point Z, right? I'm doing exactly the things that I tell people not to do. But in my world, oh, this guy just told me I was the Tony Robbins that curses. People are going to flock to me, man, right?
Right.
Uh uh-uh, uh. There's a whole other world and there's whole these little nuances. But at the end of the day, every piece of content that I started to put out made me better. And then all of a sudden, somebody calls you and they say, "Hey, I want to talk. All right, let's talk. Hey, I want to do this. Hey, this resonated with me." And I started to get that purpose of how can I evolve this? How can I pay this all of this forward? Which is why I came up with Live Forward. You never truly forget where you came from, but you can use that as two things. And you and I have gone back and forth on this. You either use your past as a burden or you use it as a lesson. Now, the only way to live forward, and the only way to truly, truly live forward is to take that past and not use it as a burden, but use it as a lesson, because then you're going to be able to walk the path that you want to walk while always remembering, right? Where it was you came from. But far too many people have all of these anchors and they keep looking back and going, if I had only done this, if I had only done that, I wouldn't be where I am. Okay, great. What are you prepared to sacrifice to get to where you think you want to be? Well, what do you mean? Well, you've got to give something up in order to get something. So why are you continually using this past experience as a burden? Use it as a lesson. And let's learn from that lesson and then you can move forward. And that's how I came up with Live Forward, because everybody's staring backward, but there's a reason why the windshield's larger than the rearview mirror. It's nice to know where you came from, but everything's in front of you if you just use it that way.
Right on.
And that's how it all started to come into play.
Yeah, dude, like I could, yeah, seriously, I could listen to you for hours. I appreciate your statements are extremely empowering, and you're right. You using those past experiences as lessons for the path forward now, and to your point, as you and I have talked about it, a lot of times for several people, depending on the experiences that they've had, some of them can be pretty dark, and those anchors are very, very, very hard to pull out of the
Yeah.
ground so that you can move forward. Now, there are ways to do that. A lot of times it takes, oh my God, and I'm still on this journey, right? No doubt. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy, and it takes the want. You have to want to to uproot those anchors. You have to want to move past it. And there are times where you think you start to get that anchor about halfway up, and then it goes back down just a little bit, and you've got to you've got to muster up that moxie, and you got to keep going, and you got to keep pushing forward. And I will be the first to admit that is very, very, very difficult. That is difficult, and sometimes I don't have the mental capability to do that. Am I where I want to be in that journey? Far from it, brother. Far from it. But I do know this. I do know that surrounding myself with people like you that help me with that, other people in my inner circle that are close to me that constantly are just bombarding me with that message, like, hey, 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 like, let's go. You say refine, you say move, right? Forward, you say forward, you say these things. What are you living it? Are you willing, to your point, to sacrifice, to pay the price, to get rid of, sacrifice all that so that you can continue to move forward freely? So speaking of moving forward, Keith, looking at the next, let's say even the next year, where do you see your coaching practice, your consulting practice, and then into the future? What's that look in your, what's that look like for you?
It's funny because we just talked about not having a destination, right?
Right? Just
and I think I would be disingenuous if I said I see this going this way. You
okay.
know, um, where do I see it going? I see it going in the direction on where my clientele takes me and my niche takes me because it's forever evolving.
Right on,
Here's
brother.
here's what I'm doing, right? Trevor, here's what I'm doing. I am a surfer riding a wave. And that wave is powerful, right? And I only have so much control over it. So I treat my coaching business the way that I treat my life.
Mm.
And instead of trying to fight the wave or to catch the right wave or to look back at the one I just caught and said, "Well, that was a shitty ride. That was terrible." Right?
Right.
I use it to propel me forward, but where it takes me is not in my control. But I can maneuver the board and have some fun with it.
All right.
So what I'm looking to do, and as a coach, is I'm not a therapist. I am not anybody's therapist, right? And therapists have a specific function. They will dive into more things than I could ever touch, nor do I want to, because at the end of the day, my job isn't to fix anybody, right?
Yeah.
My job, my job, if I do it correctly, is to show someone a better path,
I like
is to
that.
give them tools that they can repeat over and over and over again to remind them that there is nothing that's impossible. There's nothing that they can't do. They've just believed this bullshit story over and over and over. I believed a bullshit story over and over and over again that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't, uh, uh, you name them, right? I wasn't good enough. I'm not handsome enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not muscular enough. And all of a sudden, it's like you're chasing. Life is like a game of tag, right? Your life is a game of tag. You have all these people running around you, and you're it. Okay. And
Yep.
what we do, right? And this is what my coaching business looks like. What we do is we look at all these people running all over the place. And what do we do when we play tag? We go after this one and then we stop. And then we go after this one and then we stop. And then we go after this one and then we stop. Well, all those people represent all your goals in your head and all your wants and all your wishes and everything else. And what do? We start, we stop. We get pissed. We didn't catch that person. We stop. We start again. We stop. We get pissed. He's faster than me. We start again. When are you successful in tag? You're successful in tag when you focus on that one kid and you just go full steam. And sooner or later, you're going to catch him. And if you don't catch him, there's somebody that's going to run into you like, "Oh shit, I didn't realize he was that close. Tag, you're it. I'm out."
Right
And now
on.
you're out. So my job as a coach, and where I see it at least evolving to, I help people take all of those goals that they think they want, and I go, "Okay, which one is a want and which one is a wish?" Because wishing will keep you from working. I wish I was a millionaire. Cool. Wish away. We can move that to the side. You're not going to be a millionaire anytime soon. Next. What's next? Wishing keeps you from working. So I take those wishes and I separate them from the wants. Then the things that they think they want, I go, "Okay, what are you willing to sacrifice to get it?" You want six pack abs? Awesome. I can show you, right? I can show you the mentality to get it. And then I'm sure there's somebody that can show you the exercise and the nutrition to get there. But what are you willing to give up? Sometimes people, what they think they want, it's not what they want. They just want to feel better.
Right
They
on,
want
dude.
to, right? They don't want the six pack abs. They want to feel accomplished. That six pack abs is just something that, is floating around their brain.
Yeah.
So I take those wishes and I get rid of them for a while, and I take their wants and I dive into that one want. What's that one? What's that one want that we can just make tag out of and go, we're gonna attack that head on, baby. And when you catch it, now what's gonna happen is you're gonna feel so confident that you're gonna want to catch that kid and that kid and that kid. And then we decide which kids you're gonna go after, and we're just gonna focus on one more kid.
Right on, dude.
Right? Because there
Right
is
on.
no finish line, brother. It's a game of tag that never ends.
I fully subscribe to that way of thinking, right? Because we've talked about before, we had people say, "Okay, here's the box, right? We got to think outside the box." I'm like, no, 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 no. Obliterate the box. There is no box. There's no boundaries. You take that thinking to heights so high that people say like the sky's the limit. No, the sky's not the limit. There is no limit. Take that thinking, take that forward progression and that passion even I mean, even far, and it'll take you farther than you even imagined. And I keep looking right over your shoulder. Life isn't about finding yourself, it's about creating yourself. And what is crazy, it's actually not even crazy, it's like spot on. So I don't know what I'm thinking. It's spot on. Listening to your story and then how you started your coaching practice to where you want it to be right in the just in the near future, and how you help encourage enable and individuals goes right along with what's right behind your shoulder. So it's awesome that statement on your wall isn't just a statement for people to read. It's actually something that you live. It's something that you do. Life isn't about finding yourself, it's about creating yourself. And
And
I, you
yep,
know, this has
yep.
been this is absolutely key. This has been an absolutely phenomenal conversation. Number one, like I have so many notes, like I got to go back through, but there's a couple things that I really appreciate. Number one, your transparency, like the honesty and the rawness about it, because that's what it's about. There's actually three things. Number two, your use of the F word, because obviously I'm a big fan. Those that know me know I'm a big fan. And but number three, it's the passion. You can tell there's a difference between somebody that comes on and goes, okay, yeah. So what I do is I do, X, Y, and Z, and I'm very thankful and I'm very grateful for the things I have in my life, and I love doing it. Then there's somebody that comes on and just lights up the room and says, listen to me. I've been through the shit. It was tough. I yelled at my fucking kid. I felt fucking horrible about it. I can't fucking forget it, and I won't ever forget it. And you know what? I made some changes. And I'm going to continue to change. I'm going to continue to evolve. And then I'm going to help other people play the fiercest fucking game of tag they have ever played in their entire life. And that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
Mic drop. Right. And so I just, from the bottom, seriously, from the bottom, as we close this out, like
yeah,
from the bottom of my heart, dude, you are a fucking brother for sure. And I appreciate what you're doing for this world. And when I say you are a warrior, man, dude, you are a fucking warrior, bro. For sure. For
yeah.
sure. So
I
Keith,
appreciate.
hey, as we close this, can you where can our audience find you? Like what social platforms are you on? How can our audience connect with you?
I am specifically strictly on LinkedIn. I keep it to one platform and one platform only, and the reason for that is because it's easy. So it's Keith
Preach.
O'Neill, Live Forward Coaching, right? It's straightforward, and what it's funny. You appreciate the energy. It's just who I am. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, right? But I'll tell you this. I'm gonna tell you this. I leave a coaching session drained. Like I will leave this and I'm going to have to go and relax a little bit because I give it all,
Right
right? You
on.
want, I'm going to give it all. You're going to get it all. And my last client was like, I didn't think we'd connect the way we did, but goddamn, you're this. And I'm like, it's all about telling you the truth, man, because we live with concrete floors and glass ceilings, right? And in order to break the glass ceiling, you got to dig through the concrete floor to get to your truth. What's your truth? You don't know your truth until you admit it to yourself. My truth was that I was an alcoholic and I had a lot of self-hate. That was my truth. I didn't accept it for a long time. As soon as I dug through and I accepted it, there is no glass ceiling, right? I'm shattering that shit every single day. And the
Mm,
reason why I'm shattering it is because I don't allow somebody to tell me that I can't do it.
that'll preach, baby.
And
Oh
I
my
have
God,
my
that'll
days,
preach.
right? We slide,
Yeah.
but we always rise. Every time we slide, we rise a little higher because we're not sliding all the way down the mountain. We're sliding back to a point that is right about in the middle. But now we're still in the middle.
Yeah.
There's still a ways to go. So I appreciate the time. And again, you can find me on LinkedIn, Live Forward Coaching.
Hell yeah, man. Well, hey, audience, as you can see, this has been one for the books, right? This has been an epic journey with Keith. And hey, make sure you click and subscribe because obviously we're dropping these. I'm trying to do about a two every month. So you're gonna see this one pop up on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe to that channel. And Keith, like once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very, very much for being on Way of the Warrior.
No, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
No problem. Hey, audience, we'll see you next time. And hey, proud of you out there also. So, all right. Later, everybody.